Hello, Magic players and collectors. Welcome back to the Land Library. I'm your librarian, and today I'm doing a Librarian's Lockbox, going over another deck. Last time I did my Gates Maze's End deck, and today I'll be going over my Landfall deck. So, starting it off with, of course, my commander. I have I'm not entirely sure how his name is pronounced, but Asi, Tyrant of Gyre Strait, the Sea Serpent. This is one of the most common landfall commanders because he's just a really good commander. He's in Simic, so the deck is Simic. You can play an additional land, and even though it doesn't technically use the keyword, this is a landfall trigger. Whenever land enters, you draw a card. This is a really good card. I have it in foil. And I got matching sleeves. These look so good. Actually, let me put them side by side. These sleeves look like they were made for it, like the lush island and coastline with the big serpent. Like this looks just like a Simic serpent thing, and it's exactly what this is. These sleeves are awesome. But getting into the deck, starting it off with, I have, here's my non-basic lands. There's a bunch of things that can search for other lands because, you can trigger landfall multiple times. So, Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds, Ash Barrens, Shire Terrace, Promising Vein, Terminal Moraine, Field of Ruin, Urza's Cave. Urza's Cave is a little bit better because the rest just look for, basics. Urza's Cave can look for anything. Myriad Landscape, which is the double fetch land. You can get 2 basics. And then Fertile Thicket isn't exactly a fetch land. It doesn't search for more things, but it still can look at the top 5 cards. Put okay, you put one basic land back on top of your library, and then the rest go under the deck. This isn't exactly the most powerful thing, but it definitely doesn't hurt. Broker's Hideout. Yeah, that's still just another searching one. And then I have a few other things. Thawing Glaciers is really good because it can search out and it goes back into your hand every time you do. So it does come in tapped, so you can only use it every other turn, but it's really good because it's repeatable. You can keep playing it to keep triggering landfall itself. Thawing Glaciers is really nice. Also, just looks really good. This is a really old card. And then Simic Growth Chamber can bounce a land back into your hand, so you can play it again. This isn't exactly the biggest of deals, but it's a bounce. It's still in Simic. It helps. Jungle Basin is also another bounce. Had to read it for a sec. It bounces like a forest back into your hand, so you can play it again. Because this deck is all about playing as many things, as many lands as you can to trigger landfall over and over. So Jungle Basin is another thing. It just bounces once and that's it. And then Ghost Town can bounce itself repeatedly. You do have to wait until it's someone else's turn to bounce it back into your hand, but you can just keep bouncing this and playing it every turn, which isn't exactly the most powerful land, but it does keep triggering landfall, which is the point. And then Sapseed Forest, This is kind of just in here because of the things that can like target a forest. It's a targetable thing, um, and it doesn't hurt to like gain life. So this isn't exactly the most important, but it's all right. And then these two are just kind of there because they can be. They're just sort of simic. They help with like colors, but that usually isn't an issue at all. I could definitely replace these with more like cards that work more towards the actual goal of the deck, but they're there. And then I have a bunch of basics, a bunch of islands, and even more forests. I have two of the same one in here for some reason. I do tend to like to have different art on everything, so nothing too crazy with that. I I have a lot of those in there. I do have some upgrades I want to make to the deck, and I could definitely take out a couple of those basic forests. There's quite a few. And then moving on to spells. So a lot of these, but not all of them, are based around like getting more land. So like this one, it bounces a land back into your hand so you can play it again. But like Sylvan Tutor, which I pulled the special guest print in Bloomborough. This was a pretty cool pull. Um, it searches for a creature, puts it on top of your library, so it doesn't really necessarily do landfall stuff, but it can search out something with landfall. This one is just like a landfall effect. Ooh, that's in the wrong place. That's a creature. Ignore that. I thought I sorted these better. Um, there's like an enchantment with landfall, another enchantment with landfall, another enchantment with landfall. I think you get the idea. Um, Urban Evolution, draw 3, play an extra land. This one can like do extra draw, and then you can put a land from your hand on the battlefield. Growth Spiral is more draw plus extra land. Think Twice is just draw, but like it's not. Doesn't hurt to just have draw. Mysteries of the Deep is draw plus a landfall trigger, which just is extra draw, but still. Planar Genesis, you can like get extra land. Expand the Sphere is to get more land. Harrow, you sacrifice a land and then search for 2 basics, so more land. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier. It doesn't say like basic forest, it just says forest. So this can search out like the Sapseep Forest, which isn't the biggest of effects, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Tempt with Discovery is a fun card. Um, this is just a good card to put in anything green, not even just like landfall. Map the Frontier searches for land. Glimpse of the Core searches for land. Migration Path searches for land. Verdant Crescendo. Crop Rotation. Now, this is a really good card. Um, and they like kind of changed this to be a much bigger deal. It's like a game changer now. So I do have one in here. I don't know if that really necessarily makes this deck like a different tier or something, but I do have a Crop Rotation in here. Grow from the Ashes, Nature's Lore, Cultivate with awesome borderless art, Reap and Sow, which is kind of pretty much the same thing. as crop rotation. They're very similar, except this one is a sorcery and this one is an instant. Although then again, it does say destroy target land, which does not say your own, because this is sacrifice. Huh. They're very similar though. I've got Azusa's Many Journeys on here, which turns into Likeness of the Seeker, which can untap lands, which is not super necessary, but it is nice to be able to like use lands again. Exploration, these are real good. Enter the Unknown, Summer Bloom, and this is my I forget what it's called. It's Abundant Harvest, which is I forget it sometimes because it's like the really cool Japanese version. Because these were from Wild of Eldraine, and this like comes out of an English booster, but it's in Japanese. But they have special art. They look really cool. All you got to do is just remember what it is and what it does. Which it 1 green mana, and then you choose either land or non-land and reveal cards from the top of your library until you find the thing you chose. You put it in your hand, and everything else goes back on the bottom of your library. So as long as you just remember what it does, it's fine that it's not in English, but it is a really nice art. And then I have a few artifacts. I don't really have a lot. Got Ecologist Terrarium, Seer's Sundial, and like extra draw off of Landfall. Eternity Vessel is another Landfall artifact. Whenever land enters, you can have your life total become the number of charge counters. X is the number of charge counters when you first like play it. So if you're at like 20 life, you play Eternity Vessel with 20 counters on it, and then every time you play a land, you can put your life back to 20. And Conduit of Worlds lets you play lands from your graveyard. It also lets you potentially get like extra spells back out of your graveyard, but it's mostly just for like the lands, because a lot of those things, like at the beginning, like these all sacrifice themselves, and so you sacrifice them to play another land, and then you can Conduit of Worlds to just play it back into the field and do it all over again. And then whoops, I really should have sorted this better. Here's another sorcery. And then the rest of these should be creatures, and they are. Okay, I had a couple of cards out of place, but oops, these things happen. So, Yavimaya Elder, and I got I'm not entirely sure what this was called, but it's like a special foil. It looks pretty cool. Not sure how well it's showing up on camera. But when Yavimaya Elder dies, you may search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them in your hand, and he can just sacrifice himself to draw a card. So you can play him, sack him, get a card, and get 2 basics. He's pretty good. Llanowar Scout, like extra land. Ramunap Excavator, you can play lands from your graveyard. Because it's not like I'm necessarily going to get Conduit of Worlds every time. So you want to have multiple options. Springbloom Druid, Boiling Oracle, Sky Serpent Seeker. This is a really nice card out of Aether Drift, which is pretty recent. Ancient Green Warden, Azusa. Yeah, I love Azusa. This art is so good. Azusa is one of like the most important, like best landfall things, even though she doesn't actually have landfall, because you can play 2 additional lands. So your lands per turn goes from 1 to 3. So she's super good in landfall. Molimo, Maro Sorcerer. His like power and toughness is equal to land, so he's not necessarily landfall, but he goes really well in landfall just because you're gonna have a ton of land out, so he's gonna get really strong. Arboreal Grazer. It's got a retro frame, but it's not actually retro. It's from a remastered set. Stone Cedar Hydrophant. Whenever a land comes into play, untap, and then she can tap to untap a land. So you can definitely do some silly stuff with that. Uh, Spore Mound makes tokens off of landfall. Avenger of Zendikar gets bigger. Actually, I guess he himself doesn't get bigger. He just makes other things bigger. Tatyava is another like super good land one, gaining 1 life and drawing a card. Really nice. Baleth Woodcrasher. He just like doubles his stats until end of turn plus trample every like on landfall. So it is he only gets the 1 trigger per turn, but still he he gets pretty big. Rampaging Baleth makes a lot of tokens. Undergrowth Champion. This is another really classic landfall card. He just gets a 1/1 every time a land comes into play, so he can get really big. Lotus Cobra just like makes mana off of landfall. Evolution Sage. Proliferate is also really good because there is quite a few things that are going to have like 1/1s, so Proliferate can just give you a bunch of extra 1/1s off of landfall. Territorial Scythe Cat. He just gets a 1/1 every time. Oran Reef Hydra. Yeah, this is also like really good because of all the forests. So I that also kind of makes Sapseed Forest like combo off of Oran Reef Hydra. Scoot Swarm makes tokens off of landfall. Vine Lasher Kudzu just gets a bunch of like 1/1s. And so there's definitely some other cards I would like to get to upgrade this deck. It's definitely not optimized. There is cards like Burgeoning, which I do have one in my main Gates deck, but they're like kind of pricey to really want to buy like a second one. And also, I would like to get like a Royal Elemental. Those are really good. Get like a Reshape the Earth, which is another one that I do already have one, but it's in the main deck, my Gates deck. And I'd really like to get like Bristly Bill, but those are so good and so expensive. I'd also potentially want to get like the special guest Scape Shift to upgrade the one in my main deck to the borderless version, and then take the regular version and put it in Landfall. But yeah, a big reason that I haven't gotten some of those stuff is mostly just they're pretty expensive, and I would oftentimes rather get other stuff than just like things for a deck. Like I love collecting land, so I'd prioritize like just collecting lands off of building a deck. But it is still fun to build decks. I have some upgrades to make to this deck. It's not, but it is like a complete deck. It's a finished deck. It just has like some potential for growth. I also kind of forgot to say, but there's a bunch of stuff in the upcoming Final Fantasy set that's Landfall, like some really nice Landfall cards. And so I could definitely make some upgrades with like those new cards, even not thinking about like the other older, more expensive cards I want to get. Like this, it has some more potential for growth just from like the Final Fantasy set. But I had this in my schedule for way longer than stuff was revealed because they were revealing stuff literally like 2 days ago at the recording and release of this video. So I I didn't really plan ahead on those Final Fantasy things because I didn't really know about them. But I do now, which is why I'm bringing it up. But that's pretty much it. If you have like any suggestions that I didn't bring up or like questions or anything, put them down in the comments. Drop a like for turn, and I'll see you in the next one.